Libs of TikTok is supposedly back in Twitter jail. Over the weekend, CEO of the Babylon Bee tweeted that the account has been locked out for violating the platform's rules against hateful conduct. The content that spurred all this is an audio recording of a phone conversation between the Libs of TikTok creator and a Children's National Hospital. So during the discussion, the hospital appears to admit that they do perform gender-affirming hysterectomies on minors. So let's take a listen to this audio.
Thank you for calling National Hospital. Your call may be recorded for quality assurance.
I was calling for information about gender-affirming hysterectomies.
Okay, you said gender-affirming hysterectomy.
I've been in touch with quite a few hospitals, and a lot of them, they said they won't do it for my 16-year-old, and then I was told that this hospital might, and I also saw it on your website. So if you guys do it for a 16-year-old, I would be happy for to come for a consultation or whatever it takes.
Let me get you over to the operator, and I hate to transfer you.
I just want to know if you guys do service that age, before coming all the way for an in-person consult and going through all the paperwork and everything.
Yeah, it depends. Like, each department is different. Some departments cut off at 18. How old is your patient?
16.
Okay, all right, so they're in the clear. I'll email Dr. Call and see what we can do. In the meantime, if you still want me to transfer you, I can still transfer you to surgery.
According to the national desk, the hospital told the news outlet that they do not provide gender-affirming surgery for anyone under the age of 18, and added that it does provide puberty blockers and other hormone treatments to children, but never, quote, before puberty begins. I have to say, Robbie, I think that phone call is a little bit ambiguous. It's clear that that's an operator, not a nurse, and I mean, yeah, the operator should be clear, and obviously nobody should be performing hysterectomies on people, under 18. I hope that goes without saying. But I do feel that was a little bit ambiguous. I mean, I think that often Libs of TikTok does really important work. Like that call is the kind of call that journalists across the nation should be making and aren't making, right? But I do have to say, I don't know. I feel like it was ambiguous. It was, it wasn't like to me, that's not a real smoking gun that this is happening. What do you think?
So I think there's a genuine dispute here. We don't know for sure. And I appreciate, so I've criticized some other things that Libs of TikTok has done in the past. I appreciate that, what are her names? Chaya Rychik, I think, is the person behind it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that exactly correctly. But so she did release, put on Twitter that, this entire call she had, it's not like edited. She's transferred to a couple people. And you do get two people that she's on the phone with at this hospital say that yes, they have performed the gender-affirming hysterectomies on people younger than 16. 16 wouldn't be the youngest. So you do have two people saying that. Now, maybe those people are misinformed. That could be the case. The Washington Post reported on this, followed up, and the hospital utterly denies that they have performed it on anyone under, I believe, under 18. And so then the Washington Post kind of characterizes what Libs of TikTok is claiming about the hospital as erroneous and false. But I'm like, wait a minute. Well, and then the story does say that, well, yes, Libs of TikTok did obtain, kind of very clear information from this person at the hospital, two people saying it. So I don't know. Maybe those people were wrong and they don't do it. But maybe they did do it and the hospital is now just lying and saying they didn't. I think it's not clear from what we know now. I would not take the hospital's kind of, because they did do a little changing on their website of what it declared. I think they changed from 70 to 18. So I would not take what the hospital statement as like, well, they said it, so we just have to believe them. Like this was enough possible evidence pointing the other way that they did have not just one person, but two people that she called give information that kind of to me strongly indicated otherwise. So I'm not sure. I think it bears further investigation. I would absolutely not, I think, be crazy to lock the account, Chaya Rychik out of her account for this, because it's just not clear. I will say now, maybe we would disagree on this, Batya. I'm not. So I think So the argument is for underage people, this kind of surgery. For adults, I don't. It should be your choice. It's not any of my business. I know expert people are debating whether this is ever the right thing for some. I think gender transition has helped people in many cases. Maybe for other people it was not the right choice. If you're an adult, that's between you and your doctor. It really just has nothing to do with the rest of society. So we're arguing what should be the case for teenagers. Some states do, though. I mean, they have an age of consent. You can consent to sex. You can consent to get married with your parents' permission at 16. So in those states, I don't know. What do you think about this, Batya? In states where you can, I mean, some of it's unrestricted. In Kansas, there are no restrictions at age 16. You can have sex, I believe. So, but then you wouldn't be allowed to go. If people are saying you shouldn't be allowed to go through the surgery, I think it should probably be the same, right? If you can consent to other things, I don't know why it would be different at 16.
I hear what you're saying, but I think the difference is, it's one thing to have sex. It's another thing to change your body so that you can never enjoy sex again, right? At the age of 16, right? I think the argument is that if you start taking puberty blockers at a certain age, certainly if you have a hysterectomy, if you have your body altered in many of these ways that are now called gender affirming, you lose the ability to experience sexual pleasure. And I just think that is a decision that children don't. I mean, kids, they don't really understand how important that is. It's very important, I think. And it's like to do a one-off thing, to say that, you're old enough to consent to sex, I think is very different than saying you're old enough to make a decision about your body that we now know many people end up regretting later in life. Of course, young people end up regretting sex as well.
Well, and maybe 16 is too young, in fact, to be able to consent, and it should be 18. I think this kind of the threshold at which you're an adult should kind of be like standard and universal, and should then let you do everything, including the drinking age, drugs, military service, voting, driving a car, buying a house, getting married, consenting to sex, being able to have bodily autonomy in conversations with doctors and such things. It seems to me it should just I don't know if it should be 16 or 17 or 18, somewhere in there. It should just be, why should it be 3 years later then that you can drink? It doesn't. That doesn't make sense. I feel like it should be, we should decide, here's when you're an adult, here's where you get all your rights, and then it's really, we're taking it out of the realm of, fractious public policy fighting over it, and having it be, different state by state is kind of crazy too, but I don't know.
I think
it's
really interesting because in a way, I think that we have, as a society, started to really infantilize young adults, to where people in college, will often behave in ways that, previous generations stopped behaving like that when they were 14 or 12, right? There's this kind of prolonged adolescence happening in a lot of our culture that I think it's sort of, to me, that's evidence against the argument you're making. There are, that a person's adulthood or adultness or their perception of themselves as a responsible adult is very socially constructed, right? It's very...
And maybe it's crazy because the age should be higher. It's crazy that if that at 16 or 17, you can make it so you'll never be able to have children again. You might be able to not enjoy sex again, but you can't have a sip of alcohol. That's crazy.
Right.
To me, that's just crazy. I did the difference of we're saying you're not allowed to vote yet. You can't have any. You're not adult. You're not mature enough to have any say over the policies of our society. But you can decide to have this, very, very serious surgery. Again, and I don't know what the answer is. It just, these things seem very out of sync to me. But we did want to play a little bit more of that call from Libs of TikTok. Let's play that.
Let you know the steps and the protocol that they do for that, okay?
Okay. So they would do it for that age?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is it a common procedure that you guys do for that age?
Yes, we have all different type of age groups that comes in for that.
For the hysterectomy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, do you know what's the youngest age you would do it on?
I'm not sure, but I have seen younger kids, and I'm not, be the HIPAA, I'm not allowed to say that, but I have some younger kids, like younger than your child's age.
Get the gender affirming hysterectomy surgery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so again, that was the second person. You know, it's kind of clear there. I guess you could, the hospital could say, well, those people are coming in for consultations at a younger age, but, and we set them up for it, but we wouldn't actually do it until they turn a later age. Look, I'd be willing to believe that, but based on what those two people said, I would not default toward going, oh yeah, no, there's nothing to see here. Libs of TikTok definitely got this wrong. What the hospital statement has put out is good enough. Yeah, they said they don't do it, so they don't do it. That would not satisfy me based on what we've heard these two people say. And I think further investigations is certainly merited for anyone who has interest in this story. Does that make sense, Bach? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's ambiguous, like there's sort of evidence on both sides, which means that this does merit further investigation. I think, like you, I'm ambivalent about Libs of TikTok. I think it does a lot of incredibly important work. Sometimes the commentary on some of the posts offends me and I think goes too far, but I think that the work is important and this certainly bears investigation. But part of me, again, is I just feel that, I know as a journalist, I'm not supposed to feel this way, but I just feel that, what if these people get in trouble for having, said something wrong and lose their jobs? And, that's neither here nor there.
No, right. I mean, this is a criticism I've had of some of the works that, for instance, Project Veritas does, where it, approaches people under false premises, at like the bar. And again, everybody will complain about their employer if you give them a few drinks, right? It's not necessarily doesn't mean that, and sometimes they uncover, but sometimes they do uncover very interesting information that is worth public knowledge of, that worth exposing them. But I like you feel bad for working people, right? These operators are working class people who have difficult jobs, and so yes, I also would hope they would not get in trouble over that. And although I will, like, Libs of TikTok did not dox them, did not give you enough. Maybe the hospital can tell who they are because of their voices. Maybe some people would know who they are, but didn't put their face on screen and say this is this person. So I do appreciate that. In some ways, this was a kind of more careful expose of this variety. So I actually give some credit to how this was conducted.
I think also in that second clip, you just hear the compassion in the operator's voice. Like she obviously is really trying to help, and I don't know, that really that moved me. But yeah, I agree with you. It's ambiguous and merits further investigation. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that discussion. We'll have more Rising in just a minute. Stay with us.